We've all done it, seen someone weeping and say to them, "Oh, don't cry." Of course, we're trying to help, but recent studies suggest suppressing emotional tears may do more harm than good. Dr. William Fry, a biochemist at the University of Minnesota and research director of Health Partners Neuroscience in St. Paul, has found that emotional tears appear to help humans decrease stress.
We know also from studying the chemistry of the tears that emotional tears are chemically different from other kinds of tears, such as the tears that keep your eyes moist during the day and the tears that you cry in response to eye irritation by onions. Emotional tears have a higher concentration of protein, even though the volume of tears secreted in an emotional episode is usually significantly larger.
Fry says the proteins in emotional tears are the same ones that produce stress in the human body. But by crying emotional tears, he believes that people are effectively shedding those distressing hormones. And that's no small thing.
Emotional stress can be very damaging to the body. If you have chronic unalleviated stress, it can damage your heart because it can cause constriction of the coronary artery and reduce blood flow to the heart muscle. That could increase your risk for, say, a heart attack. This is particularly true in individuals who already have some narrowing of the coronary artery or stenosis of the coronary artery that is key to delivering blood to the heart. Emotional stress and chronic unalleviated stress can also damage the brain. In particular, it can damage the areas involved in memory and even in motor function or movement. Both Alzheimer's and Parkinson's diseases have associated with them elevation of cortisol, this stress hormone.
Dr. Judith Orloff agrees. She's a psychiatrist and the author of the book Emotional Freedom. And she says all types of tears have health benefits, even those caused by irritants help our bodies stay healthy.
When you have reflex tears, it allows your eyes to clear out noxious particles when they're irritated by smoke or exhaust or particles. And the second type, continuous tears, are produced regularly to keep our eyes lubricated. And these are really interesting because they contain a chemical called lysozyme, which functions as an antibacterial and protects our eyes from infection. And tears also travel to the nose through the tear duct to keep the nose moist and bacteria-free.
As a psychiatrist, though, Orloff is most interested in the kind of tears that come at the end of a sad movie or in the airport when a soldier is reunited with her family. She's most interested in emotional tears.
It's visible. The patient comes in to be really upset, and they're crying, and they let it out. Afterwards, there's a sense of enormous relief. And could you imagine if that expression didn't happen? What happens to that emotion? It gets clogged up in the body, and it causes stress. So I have seen it. I've been in practice in psychiatry over 20 years, and I advocate crying because I've seen how when people shut up their emotions and they're not emotionally free and they keep everything inside, that causes so many health problems and depression and held in anger. And that doesn't make for a healthy, happy person.
Fry says the numbers support Orloff's observations. People feel relieved after crying emotional tears.
Our studies have shown that 85% of women and 73% of men feel better after crying. They feel less sad, less angry.
What concerns Fry, though, is how seldom men say they let themselves experience the emotional release of crying.
We also know that, of course, men and women cry very differently. Women cry approximately 4 times as often as men. On the average, women cry about 5 episodes or 5.3 episodes a month, whereas men cry on average about 1.4 times a month, a little over once a month.
He says there are several reasons why women cry more often than men.
Both boys and girls cry the same amount up to the age of about 12. Now, the differences that develop between 12 and 18 that lead to women crying as adults 4 times as often as men are partly biological and hormonal due to the difference in the levels of testosterone higher in men than in women and prolactin higher in women than in men. Also due to the anatomical differences in the tear glands between men and women. However, certainly in our society, for many, many years, crying has been discouraged traditionally. really in boys and girls, but more in men.
We can't do much about physiology, but Orloff says those societal expectations need to be changed to allow men to feel more comfortable dealing with their emotions.
I think that both men and women need to be open to crying. As the women I work with often find it easier to cry. It comes more naturally. It's more socially condoned. Whereas a lot of men feel like they're not being manly if they cry. And so I'd like to challenge that stereotype.
We're learning a lot more about tears, including the fact that humans are the only animal to shed emotional tears, and that the reasons we cry change over time. Sentimental, happy tears increase as we age. We gain empathy and cry at the success and sacrifice of others, as well as their suffering. As Orloff says, tears are part of what make us human.
Human beings are given the gift of being able to cry, and it's a healing gift. Crying promotes healing, and stopping crying causes increased anxiety and depression.
So next time you feel yourself welling up with emotion or see someone else crying, don't try to stop it. You can offer comfort, but let the tears flow. Afterwards, everything may seem a whole lot less stressful. Our writer-producer this week is Evan Rook. Our production directors are Sean Waldron and Nick Hofstra. I'm Nancy Benson.
Scientific research shows the positive effect of nutrition on patient outcomes. Optimized nutrition helps reduce the risk of complications, shorten hospital stays, and cut costs. Yet nutrition is still critically underused and undervalued, especially in clinical settings. Now is the time to make nutrition an essential component of high-quality patient care, says Dr. Juan Ochoa, Chief Medical Officer at Nestle Health Science in North America.
That's why Nestle Health Science has launched ENACT, an education and awareness program to help hospitals adopt nutrition-focused quality improvement, or QI initiatives to improve patient outcomes. It's imperative to focus on efforts that result in visible, lasting, positive change for both patients and hospitals. ENACT addresses current gaps in nutritional care with science-based QI initiatives and provides measurable benchmarks to demonstrate sustainable improvements in outcomes.
Information and specialized resources on the ENACT website help equip healthcare professionals with the tools needed to put into action nutrition-focused QI initiatives within their organization. Find out more at enactnutrition.com.